Welcome to Nightmare Story, where the scariest, most mysterious, and inexplicable stories await you every night. Turn off your lights, put on your headphones, and make sure you're not alone, because the story you're about to hear might haunt you forever.
My name is Jake. I'm 31 years old, and I currently live in Portland, Oregon. A few years ago, I experienced a sequence of disturbing and deeply unsettling events that remain etched into my memory. After enduring months of relentless stress from work and a painful breakup with my long-term girlfriend, I made the decision to distance myself from everything and rented an old apartment on the southern outskirts of the city to regain some peace of mind. I stumbled across the listing on a local forum. It was unusually cheap, almost suspiciously so, and came with a strangely enticing description, perfect for those seeking absolute silence. The apartment was located on the third floor of a decrepit building from the 1960s. Time had not been kind to it. Most of the residents were elderly, withdrawn, and seemingly uninterested in social interaction. The hallways stretched on in eerie silence, dimly illuminated by flickering fluorescent bulbs. The walls were cracked, exposing jagged concrete beneath, and the old elevator creaked and groaned like it was crying out with every use. There was a cold, forgotten quality to the place, exactly the solitude I thought I wanted. The first day passed quietly. I spent hours unpacking, arranging my things, and sitting on the small, rusted balcony, sipping coffee as I observed the stillness of the neighborhood below. But once night fell, the apartment began to change. Near midnight, while I was reading under a soft yellow lamp, a faint sound reached my ears from the hallway outside, slow, dragging footsteps, each one exaggerated and deliberate, as if someone was pressing their weight down on every step. Initially, I assumed it was just a neighbor. But then, the steps stopped, directly in front of my door. What followed was a silence so intense that it seemed to press against my eardrums. No knocking, no movement away, just the absence of sound, thick and unnatural. I hesitantly approached and peeked through the peephole, nothing but a dim hallway and flickering lights. This occurred for 3 nights in a row. Always at precisely 1:43 a.m. the footsteps would come, halt at my door, and vanish. But each night, they lingered longer, the presence more palpable, as if something, or someone, was deliberating, waiting. One night, I distinctly heard heavy breathing, deep and raspy, so close it seemed to vibrate the air on the other side of the door. Another time, faint scratching, slow and methodical, like claws gently testing the wood. Every time, I stood behind the door paralyzed with fear, certain that whatever was out there wasn't just a curious passerby. The noises became more distinct, more personal. I would hear wheezing exhalations seeping through the doorframe, cold drafts carrying whispers I couldn't decipher. The scratching grew longer, more aggressive, like something inching closer to breaking in. And then came the smell, sharp and metallic like rusted iron, mixed with the sickly sweetness of decaying leaves and damp soil, as if it had wafted straight from an unmarked grave. One night, I awoke to find symbols drawn in condensation on my bedroom window, strange sigils that looked both ancient and somehow familiar. Concerned, I spoke with an elderly woman on the second floor. Her reaction chilled me more than the sounds. She shook her head and murmured, "No one new's been up there in years, but if you hear something, don't open the door." Her eyes weren't just giving advice, they were burdened with memory, fear. I installed a camera outside my door. That night, as the clock hit 1:43 a.m., it captured something that made my blood freeze. A figure, tall and cloaked in black, stood motionless in front of my door for nearly 8 minutes. He didn't knock, didn't move, and his face remained hidden in shadow. Then, without a sound, he turned and vanished into the darkness at the end of the hall. I tried reinforcing security, added alarms, locks, even a motion light, but every night, at 2 a.m., the system would fail. Sometimes, I heard a muffled, guttural laugh, low, strangled, looping endlessly like a broken record, emanating from the kitchen. I called the police. They reviewed the footage, did a sweep of the building, but found nothing. Their guess was a vagrant, but they had no explanation for the precision timing or how he knew my exact unit. And none of it explained why he kept coming back. Then the disturbances moved inside. It started with hushed voices drifting from the vents, unintelligible whispers, like people murmuring secrets inches from my ear. Then came the knocking, from inside the walls. One night I woke to find the bathroom mirror fogged up despite never using hot water. When I wiped it, words appeared. "I know you're watching." More strange occurrences followed. A voice, hoarse, almost pleading, called from the kitchen. "Jake, come down here." I rushed out. Heart hammering, nothing. Windows sealed. The lights flickered like dying stars. I set up audio recording equipment, playing it back. I heard faint, overlapping whispers, "We're still here. Still watching." A friend who worked in audio engineering helped investigate the vents. While removing the filter, he pulled out an old black and white photograph. It showed a man in a black cloak, standing at my door. His face was smudged, distorted. On the back, scrawled in faint pencil, were the words, "He hasn't left." I began suffering vivid, terrifying dreams. I would wake up inside my apartment, but everything was upside down, furniture on the ceiling, shadows moving where light should be. A dark figure skulked just out of reach, always watching. One night, I looked in the mirror, and the reflection wasn't me, it was something pale, with hollow eyes and a broken smile. Another night, I woke up with dry dirt scattered on my sheets and the scent of fresh earth in my room. Panicked, I dug into public records and found a man named Malcolm had once lived in apartment 3B, my unit. He vanished without a trace in 2004. Neighbors recalled screams and strange lights, but police had found nothing, only a black cloak left hanging on the balcony. Further research revealed whispered rumors of rituals, disappearances, and other tenants who had broken leases within weeks. Despite everything, I stayed. Maybe I was in denial. Or perhaps the apartment had begun to sink into my psyche. One night, desperate to dispel the darkness, I turned on every light and played loud music. At 2 a.m., the power cut out. Darkness swallowed everything. I stepped into the living room. On the hardwood floor were wet footprints, leading from the front door to the center of the room. And then, gone. Water dripped somewhere unseen. I found a rusted iron ring in the kitchen sink. I had never seen it before. The stench of rotting meat began to fill the air, raw, overwhelming. I searched the apartment, under the bed, inside the vents, behind every door, nothing. Black splotches started appearing on the walls, at first like mold, but then they twisted into shapes, elongated fingers, distorted limbs, pressing out from the wall. I tried cleaning them, but the stains remained, dark, oozing, alive. One night, my clock spun backward for an hour before shattering on its own. A friend in mold remediation said, "That's not mold. It's not anything I've encountered." On the final night, around 3 a.m., I awoke to frigid air so cold it burned. At the foot of my bed stood a man, tall, cloaked, face ashen, eyes sunken. He leaned down, lips inches from my ear, and whispered with a voice that echoed like a tomb, "I've waited so long for you." I blacked out. When I came to, sunlight streamed through the window. I packed, left, and never returned. A week later, an unmarked package arrived. Inside was a photo of apartment 3B at night. The window was slightly ajar. Behind the curtain stood a silhouette I recognized. To this day, I don't know whether what happened was real or the unraveling of a fragile mind. But I know one thing, that shadow wasn't imagined. And the most terrifying part is, I never told anyone in that building my name. Now, every time I hear the faint sound of footsteps outside my current apartment, or the whisper of my name through a vent, I wonder if I ever really left that place behind.
Thank you for listening to this story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and return every night to Nightmare Story for more true horror stories. See you next time.